Just watch for a moment. There's no need to really start anything yet. But too often when we make a Google document, we just type our name, and then maybe we have the subject of what we're working on. And then maybe we have like something that we make bold, or we jump back, and we know our teacher likes to see this stuff to the right. And then we start typing here. Make sure that's not bold, and get this centered. But it's like, a little bit of repetition. And the other thing too is this could look a lot better. So I'm gonna trash this for myself. So maybe I put like Z trash later or something in there. I put the Z there because it puts it down in the alphabet. And then I push trash later to get rid of it. But again, you're still not really doing anything. But here's my trash later, and I'm like, oh, I knew that was a piece of junk. Now I'm going to throw it away. And maybe I'll even empty out the trash. But that's what we usually do when we create a Google document. Now I'll slow down because this is where you'll get involved. This video is going to show you how to make something that's very professional looking, including your name, date, class assignment, centered and underlined areas, bold titles in the center, and then a starting point for where you should launch from. So this is where we're heading, and this is what we're going to make today. So under Technology, if you're not in Google Drive yet, make sure you're in Google Drive. Go to the Technology and then the Templates folder that's in there. We should already see the Google Sheet that we have previously made. We'll add another document in there, but this time we'll go to New, Google Docs. So this will be like essay writing or something along those lines. So let's see, what should we call this? Well, we'll call this blank document. Now, let's go ahead and begin with the centered title. While holding the Command button to the left of the spacebar, press B. You'll notice that it automatically starts saving that, and then it even shows that this is bold. Now I'll move here and I'll center this by choosing not the left align but the center alignment, so this will center my text. There is a hotkey, but it's a little bit more difficult to remember, so we won't bother with that one. Capital T, I, T, L, E. Now, I sort of like Arial as a text, but I'm not crazy about it. So I want to make changes to everything in my document. So I'll hold Command and press A, which will grab all of what I've done so far. So that is Command A. And I will click on my choices. And I'm looking for the word Cambria. I don't see it. So if I don't see it, I'll go to More Fonts. And in the search area, I'll start typing C-A-M-B. Now I said a lot, but you'll be able to catch up. Use the pause button on the video and go back to that. With that chosen, I'll click OK, and it'll have changed everything to Cambria. If you want, you can increase the size to 12. If you click out of it, you might have to re-choose the items and fix it that way. Now, I'm at the end of my E, and I see my flashing cursor showing where if I were to start typing, where it would type it. So I'll hit Command B so that I'm not bold anymore. I'll hit Enter, and I'm going to press the Delete button to back up. You'll notice that I'm now aligned to the left. It's good to have a little extra space in between a title and where you start typing. So hit the Return key or the Enter key again and start typing Start here. Now, this doesn't mean that you keep this in your future documents. This means that later when you use this, you'll replace this with whatever you end up typing. Maybe your story, yesterday was the most exciting day ever. So again, I'm just explaining that to make that clear. Here's the title. Here's where you have your text. And so we just created the main body part of our blank document. But now hover up here where you see my cursor moving and double click. If this didn't come up, try it more rapidly, and if it still doesn't come up, go to Help and start typing in HEADER. So choose Insert or Move to Header. Now I don't want this header to show up on every single page of my document. So while I'm in here, I'm going to choose Different First Page. And then this changes to be the first page header only. And now we're going to do something that's way more complicated than what we've done before. And I'll jump back and forth to this as a model of what it's going to be like. We have the title taken care of. We have the start here taken care of. But we're going to want something that has 1, 2, 3, 4 rows and 1, 2 columns. So 4 rows and 2 columns. Whenever you're working with documents, you should always have matching font. So since this is Arial, this would also have to be changed to Cambria. This was 12 point. While this is flashing, let's change this back to 9 point, or down to 9 point. We don't need our name, date, and all that taking up a ton of space on our page. Make sure you've done this change. Make sure you've got that set to 9. Make sure you're on the top of the header. Make sure that this says Different First Page. Jump back and rewind if you need to. Okay, we'll choose Insert Table. And I had said I wanted something that was 4 rows and 2 columns. So make sure it matches my shape there. Let's go ahead and populate this. Name, date, class, assignment. After name, put a colon. After date, put a colon. The colon is to the right of the L key, and it's also being pressed with a shift. I'm going to zoom in for a second. See that it's a colon and not a semicolon. Over here I'll type John Rubin. For date, I don't want to put something there, so I'll just put the word date again, class, and then assignment. But let's get these things aligned correctly. Click before the N and do a drag. I'll choose all 4 of these items. Again, I could click here and do a drag, but if you click in there and start to move accidental, it might think you want to relocate your text. So make sure that when you do this, you're using Command Z if you make a mistake and trying over again. I want this aligned to the right. I want my name, date, and all of this centered. And the only reason I'm putting this in here is so that I have blank spaces to go in and replace this later. So that when I use this, maybe I'll be like, well, today's the 15th. And for the class, I'll put, well, history. And then for the assignment, I'll put Civil War essay. But again, I'm going to undo that because this is just my holding places for all this. But since you're building this for yourself, your name shouldn't change anytime in the near future, so keep that in there. While hovering, move back and forth and notice how your cursor changes. I'm going to do a click and drag and carry my entire set of cells further to the right. And we're getting closer and closer and closer to this looking like what my template does. You'll notice that this is a little bit more snug. And the reason for that is because of something called cell padding. So I'll choose this entire table by clicking before the N and doing a click and drag down to the assignment area. By the way, this is not something you remember how to do after only doing it once. You get practice with this. That's when I do a single click, but now I want to do a control click instead. So again, I'm choosing all of these, and I'm doing a control click on all the blue. If I go beyond the table, I might see some extra chunk chosen, And if I do a control click, I might not get the same choices. So make sure that you only have the table chosen. Do a control click and go down until you have the option of table properties. You'll notice that there's a scroll wheel to move, or you can use 2 fingers to go up and down. Under table properties, let's mess around with this cell padding. Right now it says 0.069. Change that to 0.03. We'll see if we think that looks okay. It's pretty darn snug, but I think this looks good. Make name, date, class, and assignment bold. And we're almost done, but we're going to make a couple more changes. Choose the whole table again. Make sure you don't go past like I have. So if that happens, just reselect it, making sure you stop and that only these 8 different cells are blue. Click on this downward option. See how it says click to select borders? I'm going to choose all my borders, and it will outline them to show what I'm planning on changing. I'm going to change the thickness of these borders to 0. It'll make it invisible. I could also make them white, but I prefer to make them 0 point thickness. Click out of this to see what that did. Now we could just go in and underline this, but I don't think that looks as nice. So before your name, down to the assignment on the right side, click, and now let's choose all the inside horizontal borders. So it's the center one, and it's just a solid line down the middle. It chooses this, and that location because those are all on the inside. Let's give them a thickness of 1. Now that's almost perfect, except I didn't underline this assignment one, so I can just go and fix this, choosing the bottommost and giving it a 1 point thickness. Now, I don't have any idea what the time is on this video, but you would never want to do this every time you create an assignment. And it's probably taken you a while to get to this point because a lot of this was new. But the cool thing is now you have this blank document. Let's close this and actually put it into use for a second. Here's our blank document. Under the templates folder in technology. Let's double click on it. Now let's pretend you're in history class, and I do want you to act on this. Go to File, make a copy, and let's call this History blank. Well, we don't want this under the templates folder because that's in my technology folder. So go to More Options by clicking on this. Back up more. Double click on History, and then in History, click Select. So this places you in the History folder. You're making a document in there called History Blank, and you're going to click OK. My old tab is still open, but now I have a new file called History Blank. Let's see what just happened. In Google Drive, in My Drive, when I go to History, I now see that document that got created. This is a very organized way to keep your stuff. Well, now I don't know what date this is going to be, but I do know what class it's going to be, and I can type history. On your own, rewatch that part of the video if you need to, but make blank files for your LA or English class, math, and social studies / science. That'll be 1, 2, 3, 4 total times that you do that, and that'll help it become more of a habit. So each class will end up having one in there. If you have all that taken care of, this video is over.